You mentioned the deep reasoning models, the reasoning models of large language models that have been released recently, which is one of the major developments in AI of late. And of course, reasoning being a sort of partially accurate term for what these models are doing, which is taking a few extra steps and acting more like scholars in how they answer our questions as opposed to just delivering predictive text. Of course, the most recent excitement and panic has been about the Chinese version of one of these reasoning models, DeepSeek. What do you make of, obviously the stock market crashed in response to this. It caused a lot of reaction across Silicon Valley, technologists and politicians with respect to the so-called arms race on AI. What do you make of what the Chinese have done?
Well, so a lot of the story around this kind of caused a bunch of there was the story was radically incomplete. Like, for one, they almost certainly used a large model, which required large scale compute and everything else in order to make, whether it was GPT-4, Llama, some combination, etc. Second is when I consulted with experts from multiple different firms, they also likely had access to a large compute cluster. And so the statement that this was all done, just kind of super cheaply, was actually in fact required all of these large expenses in order to make it happen. Now, that being said, I don't want to undercut the value of kind of some of the areas of achievement. Like, I think, necessity is the mother of invention. Part of what I think they figured out some efficiencies in operation that by having open sourced, all of the U.S. and other AI labs have learned those things too. I think that was great invention, bringing it into the kind of the general industry practice. And I think it really illustrates something that I and others have been saying for the last couple of years, which is this cognitive industrial revolution is actually, in fact, kind of there's a competition going on for the development of these technologies that the Chinese and others. I think part of the thing that the Chinese effort demonstrates is that other people can also be in this, Europeans, others, because if you're working through the distillation from large models like ChatGPT, and leveraging off open source like Meta's Llama, I think that those are things where you can actually then go build things that are unique and kind of additional kind of value of these open models. Now, part of, I think you have to be careful. This is frequently discussed as open source versus open weights. And to be slightly jargonous, for example, open source is a description of kind of how the code and all the process works. Open weights is just as it were, the artifact. Like, here's the computer program in terms of how it runs. Open source is, generally speaking, always very good because you can check security, you can iterate on it. Open weights is kind of just giving out the program to everyone. In some senses, this is very good. Academics, startups, entrepreneurs. On the other hand, you have to be careful about like rogue states, terrorists, criminals. So you have to be careful about that kind of thing on these. And so we have to navigate this in kind of intelligent ways. But I think that part of what you'll see is with a variety of these small models being broadly available, is that's part of how we get to the cognitive industrial revolution, where part of what I would say is kind of within some number of years, every professional, you, Bina, me, etc., when we deploy with our work, we will have at least one, probably multiple co-pilots helping us with the stuff we're doing. And I think that that's part of what the revolution of all these small models will be. And I think that the DeepSeek side showed that other players, not just the U.S., will be present in developing and deploying them. So we are in a kind of like a build the future. Kind of there's a competition afoot, and it's one of the things that I think it's so important for us to be dedicated on as Americans, because part of the thing that I hope is that AI is not just amplification intelligence, but also American intelligence, building in some of our values about kind of individual rights and order of society and these kinds of things. And I think that's all been kind of had a spotlight put on it by DeepSeek.